Welcome to Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. In the next half hour, you'll obtain insights and tools to transform your life using the biblical principles found in the 12-step program. We believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience because we all have struggles in life. Struggles with addictions, food, depression, anxiety, and relationships, to name a few. You'll be encouraged to see how others have found a new way of life with hope for the future through life recovery. Your host is Steve Arterburn, founder of New Life Ministries and Women of Faith, author of over 100 books, and teaching pastor at Northview Church in Carmel, Indiana, one of the 20 largest churches in America. Steve is the co-editor of the Life Recovery Bible, the #1 selling recovery Bible. With over 3 million copies sold, this is the Bible given to inmates by Prison Fellowship and the Pew Bible for the Salvation Army. Now here's Steve.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here, and thanks for joining me for Life Recovery Today. We have a very special guest today, Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris. Jacqueline is her name. Air Force veteran, 20 years, licensed vocational nurse, and now she is helping so many people with emotional and spiritual problems. But before we get to her, I want to talk to you about this word courage. You know, the Serenity Prayer, it could be called the courage prayer. It says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I can. And then it goes on to ask God for courage to change the things that I need to change. And so, could be the courage prayer. I'm just wondering if there are some things in your life where, it's not just accepting the reality that isn't going to change. It's not just accepting that things can't be different in the past, but they can be in the future. But you need a little bit of courage to do what needs to be done. Courage really is, in my definition, doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done, no matter the consequences. That's why people die for somebody else, because they just do it in the moment. And how many times have you thought about what you wish you had done, but you didn't do it? You never get that chance back. But the courageous person, even though afraid, even though with fear and trembling, they go ahead and do the thing that needs to be done. That's what courage is. And that's why we love that phrase, do it afraid. Don't wait until there is no fear. Do it while afraid. Because I got to tell you, fear just doesn't get better on its own. It doesn't just go away. And I think it's when we move into the storm that we actually have the ability for the storm outside of ourselves and within to settle down a bit. So, in that serenity prayer, there is a request from God for courage. A courage that can help change me, not somebody else, not the past, not the future, but me. And so I am going to hope and pray that today you will ask God for courage to change what needs to be changed. And you know what might need to be changed? Your location. Rather than sitting at home, maybe it's time to move your location into a meeting, a life recovery meeting. And if you want to find out where they are, call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. I'll be right back for more Life Recovery Today with Jacqui Mack-Harris.
Are you going through your struggles alone? Do you want someone to talk to help you through your pain? Do you feel like a failure when you relapse again, telling yourself, next time will be different? Don't walk this path alone anymore. Join a life recovery group today and be a person that your friends and family can be proud of. God created us to be in community, and we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country, and if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. Life Recovery brings recovery to you, right where you are. You'll take a journey with others to find healing and freedom. Whether you're looking to join a group or start one, New Life Ministries is here for you. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit liferecoverytoday.net.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. Steve Arterburn here. And, you know, we have this little radio program called New Life Live, and I've invited several people over the years to join me and be part of that program. And you don't see them there because it just didn't work out. Some of the very best clinicians, well, they just don't have it on radio. Doesn't mean they're not great clinicians. But Jacqui Mack-Harris came on, and we just all fell in love with her because she's wise and smart and bright, and actually a lot of fun too. Jacqui Mack, this is your second time on Life Recovery Today. Thanks for coming back and talking to us.
Thanks for having me again, Steve. Glad to be here.
Now, I'm going to try to not be redundant and go over things that you went over in the first program, but I might, because it's really great to hear your insight on certain things. But I've always been fascinated, before we get into that, I've always been fascinated with women who will do well in the military. And one of my favorite people, helping her write a book, she only lives about 3,000 miles away, but a young woman I used to take to church camp, and she has just moved up the ranks in the military. What was it like serving in the military as a woman?
That is an excellent question. It was challenging for me, Steve.
Thank you. I try those excellent questions. That's a home run for me. No, yes. But what was that like for you?
It was really challenging. There were things I experienced in the military that were just really reinforced the trauma that I'd already experienced growing
like
up.
What was reinforcing of that trauma?
Just that the world wasn't a safe place, unfortunately. There was a lot of drinking, a lot of promiscuity. Military sexual trauma is a very real thing that many of us experience. And so you would think going into the military, you would be moving into a safe space. This place where we go and defend our country and we're all this brotherhood and sisterhood. And unfortunately, that's just not always the case. So for me, it was a rough experience. And I was in the Air Force for 4.5 years because I got called back during Desert Shield, Desert Storm. And my husband stayed in the Marine Corps for far longer. It was hard for me because I came out of a situation with lots of yelling and screaming and chaos into a situation with lots of yelling and screaming and chaos. And so I just kind of fell right into the trap of using alcohol to soothe myself and to deal with my problems. And I probably drank more during my time in the military than at any other time in my life.
Wow. Well, when you see the movies, or when I see the movies, and you see these, boot camp and the screaming and the yelling and stuff, and and we hear, well, this is to, break you down and make you part of the group and all that.
Yeah.
It's hard for me. Well, first of all, I never pledged a fraternity because I didn't want to be subjected to any kind of harassment like that. I chose not to do that. Is that as unhealthy as it looks, or in that context, is that okay for people to be treated that way?
I believe it was as unhealthy as it looked. It was really about tearing down what you came in being, whoever you were, and then being made into whatever branch of the service you were. So there's a kind of washing out of your civilianness, and then a kind of installing of whatever branch of the service you've become. So I was an airman.
Well, did you see the people that like never got over that kind of treatment?
Absolutely.
It really did. So talk about that a little bit. I've always been intrigued by that.
Yeah, so I did my dissertation on creating a program called Reset, which is a reintegration program. It's to help people reintegrate into their intimate relationships post-deployment and post-separation from the military. Because what came to me one day as I was being really frustrated about the state of affairs with veterans is that there is no reverse boot camp. So you go to boot camp, they wash out everything that you were as a civilian. They make you this Marine, this airman, this soldier, this sailor, this guardsman, but there isn't a reverse. And so when you get out of the military, you're still stuck in that mindset, and that isn't the same mindset as the rest of the world. The military is its own culture. And you could be on base and have everything you need and never go off base because it is its own little world. We have our own language. We have our own, each has its own mission and our core guiding principles. And then you get out into the rest of the world and it doesn't move the same way. And here you are trying to function and feeling like you don't belong, like you don't fit. Lots of anxiety, lots of depression. Why can't I do this right? So there was a programming that happened in boot camp that doesn't happen when you separate.
Yeah.
And
so you tried to do something about that. You tried to do
did.
something about that with your dissertation.
Yeah, they tell you don't try to change the world with your dissertation, just get it done. I decided to try to change the military. And that's a difficult thing to do. But I want to help people reset once they leave the military. I had someone say to me once, if I could just get 6 weeks to go away on an island and reset, I think I'd be okay and I could be with my family again. But this person would rather have gone back to Afghanistan for another year than to have to spend another hour with their family. It was that painful to be home because there's such a separation from the reality of being a deployed service member in combat or even in a training exercise than it is from being a civilian person in a home with a family. The wives would say, I want my husband back, and husbands would say, I want my wife back. And you can never get that person back the way that they were before their worldview has changed and they can't undo it.
Well, I had one ex-military gentleman work for me, and I worked for an ex-military woman, and both my jobs with them were right out. They were right out of the military, and neither of them made it.
Yeah.
The person I worked for, it was at a hospital. She was actually removed from her position by a revolt of the nursing staff. And they demanded that the owners of the hospital remove her or they were all going to leave for good. And the other gentleman just never made it. I always felt so sad about that. And at New Life, we've talked about doing a reset program for them, and I didn't know you were really interested in that. But I think there's a tremendous need to help folks who, we all struggle with intimacy anyway.
Right.
And really to have all of that stripped away, you need help. But here's the good news, Jacqui, and that if you were a person in the military and you came out and you had no reset, if you got involved in a recovery program and you worked those 12 steps, it is a way of resetting, especially if there's at least one or two people in that group that have been where you were. They've gone through the steps and they've applied them to all of the struggle of coming out. And I just wish more guys would get into the recovery process rather than what we see, getting into this victimhood. But not even acknowledging that they're victims, but they really are victims of a system.
There's so much shame around acknowledging that there's a challenge, right? It's seen as weakness, and you're military. You're supposed to be super tough, and you're the hero. You can do anything, and you're human, and we need each other. And being a part of a 12-step program, a life recovery program, would be so excellent as a part of a reset program because you're coming out of a situation where you've had this brotherhood and this sisterhood. You've had these people that have your back, and then you come into the civilian world and it's just not the same. And we heal in community and we heal in relationship. And so in my reset program that I developed, it's a 8-week, 4-week, 1-day intensive, depending on how I produce it. But the big key healing component was the groups. The research showed that what people got the most out of was coming together in these groups with other people who could really validate their experience, and they were able to see, no, I'm not crazy. I experienced things that my soul was never meant to know, and that hurt me.
Yep. All right, so I got to go to a break. don't have a choice. We'll be right back with more Life Recovery Today.
It's hard to find a trusted friend when you're in crisis. Someone who's been there and understands, but who also has the training and skill to give you practical help. Family, friends, and churches want to help, but often they're not equipped to care for those dealing with problems like addiction and pornography, infidelity, anger, depression. New Life Ministries is here to provide help and hope in life's hardest places. We're not focused on making people feel better. We're focused on helping people do the work that will help them be better. At New Life, we have resources available to help you, like books, DVDs, CDs, workshops, and our network of licensed counselors. If you need help, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and begin your new life today.
We're back. Thanks for joining me again for Life Recovery Today in our next final segment, or our final segment here with Jacqui Mack-Harris. We've been talking about the military. And Jacqui, when I think about the system, I think about you as an African-American woman, as a woman going into that system. And there's so much honor being in the military, and yet there's the dark side of it.
Yes.
But you came out of that, and it had reinforced and triggered all the stuff from childhood that had happened. And you recovered from that. And
Absolutely.
that's not just like putting down a bottle of alcohol and then starting to work some steps. I mean, that's major overhaul business, and you did it. And I just want people to know that, because if you can recover in that way, anybody can recover from anything. There's hope.
There's hope. I absolutely believe that. I have a saying in my family: life is about choices, and choices have consequences and repercussions. And you can choose things and then find yourself in situations you never expected. And I think that that's what my military experience was for me. There was a lot of good that I took away from it, but a lot of hurt came out of it as well. And it revealed a lot of things about me, and a lot of things about how I interacted with the world. And so coming out of the military, I had a lot of growing up yet to do. One of the things is, people are so young when they go into the military. Your brain's not fully formed yet. And I started going to college. I remember praying one day, God, give me the ability to do work that I love. Let me make a living doing something that I love. I never wanted to be in a position again where I hated my job, or I was fearful of my employers, or where I didn't feel safe with my coworkers, or where I just felt like I wasn't allowed to be who I was called to be. And so I just started learning about me. I learning about all the things that were issues, if it was alcohol, then I wanted to understand, how does alcohol affect the body and how does it affect the brain? I needed to understand emotions, because I was definitely an emotional avoider between my childhood and my military life experience. And I would say even my early marriage years were affected by both my husband and my military careers. But we also, one of the reasons we survived early marriage years was we made a pact to not let the military destroy our marriage. And so we always kind of fought to overcome anything that was a hindrance in our marriage because of the military. And then we realized we couldn't let the world have our marriage either. And so the military really gave us that fighting spirit. Well, we probably joined the military with the fighting spirit. It honed it. We came as warriors, and we came out of the military still as warriors. We just needed to shift where the war was. And I think for me personally, the war was internal. I wanted relationship, and I wanted to feel safe, and I wanted connection, but at the same time I didn't want to be vulnerable. I would let fear keep me from actually emotionally showing up. And it was a risk for me to start exploring, what is this I'm feeling? Is it okay to talk to somebody about this? Why do I think the way that I think? Do other people think this way? And I began to challenge some of the things that I learned in the military. But I also began to enhance some of the things that I learned in the military. So I wanted to be known that I took away a lot of good from the military. I just had to be taught how to convert that good into something useful in civilian life. And at the same time, I had to heal from the hurts. And so I don't want to throw it all away. There was a lot of good. I was educated in the military in how to do life and how to overcome, how to do hard things. My childhood helped with that as well. But I think that a lot of times the people who have the hardest time coming out of the military often are people who went in with trauma to begin with.
Yeah. Well, when I hear you and on New Life and hear you speak at our workshops, there's no arrogance in you. And of course, the arrogant person says, I know it all, I don't need anybody, I got this. And if you've been in a system, a very structured system, you may have more faith in the system than God or other people. But the thing that you seem to have had all along there was a humility that said, I need to learn. You just talked about, I wanted to learn about what was this I was feeling, what was I going through. And it's hard to get someone to want to know stuff when they're afraid of what they might find out. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because you've worked the steps, you've been in recovery, you've been in counseling and all these things, but some people, they're not there because they just are afraid to learn what you actually wanted to learn about.
Yeah. I think that there are people who find security in knowing. And so once they know something, that's it. They know it for sure, and that's what feels safe to them. Being willing to say, I don't know, and go find out, it's risky. It's scary, but that I was just conditioned to be that way my whole life. If I didn't know something, my parents would say, look it up. And they made sure I had the resources to look it up. And so learning, researching has been a part of my life. I am just now, as a 54-year-old woman, starting to understand that my entire life experience has really been an exercise in research. It's been this experiment. How do you manage to overcome such hard experiences as a child? And my husband and I will sit sometimes on the porch and talk about how are we here? How are we in this place? And we're asking that question sincerely because we want to know, how do we package it and so that we can help other people get to the here in their life? And for me, it was about just looking it up, finding answers. And I don't think that I have all the answers. Even with a doctorate degree, I still, I come from the position of, I know that Jesus is real and Jesus is my Lord and Savior. And I understand that I don't do this life without Him, without the Holy Spirit.
Right.
But I am open to the fact that I got a lot to learn.
Now, just got about a minute and a half left. Mm-hmm. Encourage some person that is stuck and is afraid of what they might learn. Help that person move beyond that, just in our last minute here.
It's okay to be afraid, but doing the same thing will continue to get you the same results. If you want something different, you have to do something different. Go figure out what that something different is. But it means you need to figure out who you are. And you need to figure out what you need, what you feel. Get to know yourself. Spend some time questioning you. What am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this way? What is this feeling in my body saying to me? What do I need? And then go explore meeting those needs and stop waiting on other people to meet those needs for you. There's a lot that we can do for ourselves through the help of Christ. If we would just be still and seek out the answers that I believe are inside of most of us. We have God's placed knowing in us, or resources to connect with others. We can advocate for ourselves. Be afraid, but do it anyway. We do hard things.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Thanks for sharing your life. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, they can call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Go to the website, newlife.com. You will hear her on New Life Live regularly. My life is blessed because of you, Jacqui Mack-Harris. Thank you for being with us. I'll be back in just a minute to close up another edition of Life Recovery Today.
Life recovery isn't just about making the courageous choice to give up an addiction or dependency. It's a journey towards health, wholeness, and becoming your very best you. If you need resources to help you in your journey, we can help. There are many life recovery resources that you can do on your own, with a group, or with your church. We have Bibles, workbooks, and devotionals that you can use to work your recovery right where you are. That's the beauty of life recovery. To learn more or to get the Life Recovery Bible or any other life recovery resource, visit liferecoverytoday.net or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. 2022. Well, we're already into it, deep into it, and maybe some things aren't working out the way that you wish they would. Maybe you still struggle with being able to look every person in the eye. Maybe you struggle with connecting with another human being when it's a stranger or an acquaintance. You keep your distance, but even in some close relationships or relationships that could be close, you're still keeping your distance. When we have difficulty with connection, looking someone in the eye, having them look at us deeply, sometimes there are some wrongs that need to be righted. Sometimes we've got some unfinished business. And what a great year this would be for the rest of the year if you could identify somebody that you haven't made it right with, you haven't made amends with, you haven't tried to restore to them what you've taken. And so I want to encourage you to think about any unfinished business that you might have with another human being, so that for the rest of the year, once you've cleared that up, you're able to be free. Don't have to worry about what you say. Don't have to worry about how you look around them, because there's connection and there's authenticity and you've made it right. Well, God bless you, and hope that this is going to be a great year for you. Thanks for joining me today, Life Recovery Today. And hey, call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE if we can help you with anything, especially starting a life recovery group.
Thanks for joining us for Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. We hope this program has helped you integrate God's truth and wisdom into your recovery journey. This program is brought to you by New Life Ministries, and it's your support that keeps this program on the air. When you contact us for any reason, be sure to let us know that you watch on NRB. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to liferecoverytoday.net. Please join us again next week for more Life Recovery Today.